Welcome to Franklin Up Front. I am your host, Mr. Franklin. A very special welcome to all of you who are joining me here on this podcast. I invite you to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And don't forget to hit that notification bell to be notified of weekly uploads. Today's topic, the aftermath of Blackout Day and the next steps going forward. But before we get into today's topic, I do have some housekeeping by way of Kanye West, who announced on the 4th of July weekend that he will be running for president. This is not the first time that Kanye West has expressed interest in running for president. He did so about 5 years ago, and then he announced that he's not a politician, said that he'd be leaving politics alone, and then he got quiet for a while, except that him and Kardashian both maintained relations with Trump, even so far as entering into negotiations with Trump to release inmates who have been serving time for petty offenses. But apart from that, by and large, Kanye has largely stayed out of the political arena until now. Now he has announced that he is running for president. But this comes at short notice, seeing as how we're only about a couple of months or so away from the elections. Well, not really a couple of months. We're like about 6 or so months away from the elections. And primaries have already been decided in many states. In fact, I dare even say a majority of states, the primary has already been decided in favor of Joe Biden, even though Kanye West announced that he'd be running as an independent candidate. He would have stood a greater chance running as a Democrat so now his chances are slim by him running as an independent. His chances are even more slim seeing as how he threw his hat in the race on such short notice only a few months to go before the elections. ABC's George Stephanopoulos has more on this story.
Kanye West's stunt run for president. In a bizarre new interview with Forbes, he riffs on his reasons for announcing his running mate and why he's breaking with President Trump. Rachel Scott is in Washington with the story. Good morning, Rachel.
Hey, George. Good morning. Yes, lots of twists and turns in 2020, but this one is catching a lot.
Why are you waving your mask around, ma'am? Why is she waving her mask around? If you look in her hand, she has her face mask and she's waving it in view of the camera. Is she pushing some kind of agenda, sending some kind of message? Let's continue.
People off guard. Look, the reality here is we are less than 120 days out from Election Day. Kanye West says he has a campaign slogan, even a running mate in mind, but has not filed any paperwork to run for president.
I have decided.
He has not filed any paperwork to run for president. This was a decision. This was a snap decision that Kanye made in a hurry. While he's in a hurry.
2020 to run for president.
That was Kanye West 5 years ago, telling the world his future political ambitions.
I'm not no politician, bro.
This weekend, the rapper, infamous for courting controversy, doubled down, tweeting, "I am running for president of the United States," and opening up about his bid for the White House in a long-ranging 4-hour interview with Forbes. West signaled he would make a final decision in the next 30 days. But if he does run for president, it will be as an independent and under the banner of the birthday party.
He said that it was the birthday party because when we win, it'll feel like everybody's birthday. His slogan is yes, not yay, not yeah, but yes.
But when asked about policy proposals, West was short on details. On taxes, saying, "I haven't done enough research on that yet. I will research that with the strongest experts that serve God." On foreign policy, no plan yet either, saying, "I haven't developed it yet. I'm focused on protecting America first with our great military."
My son, it is your time.
The Grammy Award-winning artist even referencing the fictional world of Wakanda, saying he would use that as a framework for running his administration.
It's hard to believe that Kanye West is actually committed to running for president. This looks like an attention grab, not a political.
Thank you, sir.
West, who called former Vice President Joe Biden, quote, "not special," previously praised President Trump.
"I just love Trump. That's my boy."
Now changing his tune, saying Trump's presidency looks like one big mess to me.
He was willing to say that he's taking off his red hat. He didn't like Trump showing, going into the bunker, and he said the country seems like a kind of a mess under President Trump.
But this morning, with less than 6 months until Election Day, many are asking, does he really have a shot? He's already missed the filing deadline in many states, losing out on the potential of more than 100 electoral votes. And at the moment, has not filed forms with the Federal Election Commission to run for office.
Rain down on us, rain down on us.
But he is promoting a new album.
I think at the end of the day, he's thinking about what's best for Kanye.
Now, Kanye West is pushing back on any criticism, insisting that this is not a publicity stunt. He says his running mate will be a preacher from Wyoming who describes herself as a biblical life coach. And even though he says he is serious about running for president, he actually has never voted for one. At 43 years old, he registered to vote for the first time this week. George?
Okay, Rachel, thanks very much. I think you got exactly what he wanted. We've just spent 3 minutes talking about it.
He got exactly what he wants. We just spent 3 minutes talking about him. You're quite right, sir. That's exactly why he said that. That's exactly why he announced he's running for president. He wants attention. Here's what I believe is going on here. Kanye West is bored. He's under quarantine during the pandemic, under lockdown at the Kardashian mansion, bored out of his mind, and decided he's going to stir up drama like the attention whore narcissist that he is. So he went on his Twitter and he tweeted that he will be running for president. Be that as it may, believe it or not, I actually really believe that Kanye is the best option for president right now. He is the best option. He's just going about it the wrong way. Because here's the thing, Biden is senile. He's 78 years old. He's an elderly gentleman, and he's suffering from dementia. Trump is also senile, but his senility manifests itself in a different way. Whereas Trump has lost his social filter, and all the racism and bigotry and sexism that he has been bottling up for decades is coming to the surface, perhaps for the first time. Well, I wouldn't say the first time, but it is coming to the surface at this level, at this magnitude, because his social filters are gone because he's senile. Biden's senility manifests itself, on the other hand, in such a way that he easily gets distracted and he forgets things. Biden is not suitable to run for president. He's not fit. As soon as he takes office, Congress may have to invoke the 25th Amendment to replace Biden with Biden's vice president, whoever that will be. He hasn't picked his running mate yet. Right? So with that said, Kanye is the best option, but he's going about it the wrong way. If he threw his hat in the ring even as recent as last year, November or December or whatever it was, threw his hat in the ring around that time and was running on the Democratic ticket, he would have beat Biden in the Democratic primaries, and then he'd be the best option to run for president. But no, he hasn't done that. He wasn't interested in politics. You heard what the news report said. He only recently registered to vote for the first time in his life at the age of 43. So he wasn't even interested in politics even as a voter, let alone a candidate. And all the decisions he made to even run in the first place and then to register to vote, all of those decisions, as you can see, those were snap decisions. Those were snap decisions, and someone who is serious about running doesn't just up and register to vote for the first time in his life at 43. They would have had a long history of interest in politics. A long interest spanning back to even when they were teenagers. And if they really wanted to run, they would have entered the race as early as possible and not wait till the last minute with this hurry come up kind of mentality. Right? So what I recommend Kanye do, he just gonna have to wheel and come again, as we say in Jamaica. Wheel and come again. He's not gonna win if he runs in 2020. Try again for 4 more years. Enter the race as early as possible, even as early as like 2022. Run on the Democratic ticket. You're probably guaranteed to win the Democratic primaries. And then you would have a chance for victory in 2024. But you're not ready yet. You're not ready yet, boss man. You don't ready yet. We don't come again. You don't ready yet. Worst of all, he didn't even register, didn't even file his paperwork with the Electoral Commission. Didn't do any of that. He has no idea on what his foreign policy is going to be. No idea on even he didn't give a good answer when he was asked a question about taxes. So he doesn't even have an idea on whether to release his tax returns or even to bring about tax reform. He has no inkling on how to even tackle that. And his decision is still not even finalized. He's saying that he's going to let the public know within the next 30 days whether or not he's serious about running. So he's not even serious. So this man is not even ready yet. All of those things tell me he's not ready. You're not going to win. We don't come again. Do it the right way. And you will have my support, and I will back you. Oh yes. Because you represent a stark contrast to the establishment, and Trump and Biden both represent the establishment. So with you being the contrast, you will have my support if you do it the right way. You will have my support. Right? But you have to read and come again. In spite of all of your flaws and your narcissism and other mental illnesses you may be suffering from, you will still have my support regardless. But once again, I reiterate, you have to do it the right way. It can't be a last minute hurry come up grab for attention. Anyway, I have gone on long enough about Kanye West. Back on to my main topic now. Blackout Day, the aftermath of Blackout Day, and future Blackout Days to consider. Now, Blackout Day was this past Tuesday, on July 7th, 2020. It was a day when black people in America stood in solidarity to not stimulate the economy by spending a single dollar, and that if we did spend a dollar, that dollar would be with a black-owned business. King 5 News has more on that story.
Today, some Americans will support Blackout 2020, committing themselves to only spending money at black-owned businesses. King 5's Kiara Alfalin live in Kent this morning with this one. Kiara, as Black Lives Matter protests spread across the country, this is a different way to show support, right?
Yeah, good morning. It is a different way to show support, and it's also meant to be a peaceful movement. So Blackout 2020 is really a call to action, really meant to help out black-owned businesses like Nana's Southern Kitchen in Kent. But really, the main purpose of this is to make a huge economic impact that the country will really notice. So Calvin Martyr lives in Texas, but he is reaching many Americans across the country right now, encouraging people of color not to spend money, but if people must do so, to spend only at black-owned businesses. So according to Martyr, black consumers make up an estimated $1.2 trillion in economic spending.
We're not spending our money in your system no more until we get change. If we could do it for one day, it would shut the whole system down.
So this is a one-day boycott, but Martyr is saying he plans to organize future blackouts that could last weeks, months, and maybe even years. So if you are looking to support this movement and you want a list of black-owned businesses, all you have to do is text the word blackout to the number you see there on your screen. That is 206-448-4545, and we will send you a list. Live here in Kent, Kiara Alfalin, King 5 News.
The interesting thing about what the lady here said, if you want a list of if you want a list of black-owned businesses, text your number to the news station and they'll give you a list. This is quite interesting. What I find interesting, how is it that the news media is supporting a cause that could put a dent in the market, seeing as how they are a part of the establishment? Don't you find it odd that they're helping us support a cause that could put a dent in the market for which they benefit? I have a theory on why they want us sexing them. Because when we text them, they would have the number of everybody who supports Blackout Day. So then therefore they know who to go after. My suggestion to you, don't text the news station. If you want a list of black-owned businesses, there are alternatives that you can follow who will give you more accurate information. Where did their list come from? They probably don't even have a more their list is probably not even the most accurate or updated list. I find it rather interesting that the news would help black people leave a dent in the economy. Don't fall for that one. Use your brain and think about why they're helping you, so-called helping you. Don't text them, don't give them your number. Then they know who to go after. If you want a list of black-owned businesses, follow the Facebook group, the Blackout Coalition, or even Kevin Martha's very own YouTube channel. He has a YouTube channel. I think I'll even leave a link in the description down below to follow Martha's YouTube channel. Not only for a list of black-owned businesses, but also a list of events, of upcoming events, and the next steps to take. All right, now there was mention of the next steps moving forward. Late Thursday night, we got wind that the next step was to be an indefinite weekly blackout that would take place every Friday evening through Saturday evening from 5 p.m. till 5 p.m. the following day. What this is doing is not just about boycotting the mainstream market, because once we start doing it weekly, it is not so much about once we start doing it weekly, it's going to be really hard, very, very inconvenient to boycott the market weekly. We still need things. So then that would actually force us now to support black businesses. The ultimate goal is not so much to boycott the mainstream market, but to support black businesses and keep the dollar circulating within our community more often. It is just the next step in a series of baby steps leading up to supporting our support of black businesses becoming second nature to us. Seeing as how it doesn't already come naturally. This is the weekly exercise is forcing us to support black businesses as it should, and it is the next step in a series of baby steps towards the economic invincibility that will come as a result of us keeping the dollar circulating within our community for longer periods of time. If you want a list of black-owned businesses, as we will, you'll be needing a list of black-owned businesses, black-owned grocery stores, gas stations, and the like. Right? That list is coming up soon. But as Martyr and his team continue to assemble a list, and more people continue to advertise on their forum, the list is being updated daily, and especially seeing as how entrepreneurship is being encouraged within the black community, and there are more black entrepreneurs who are opening up more of their own businesses, as well as buying franchises within larger corporations. And by the way, somebody asked the question whether a black-owned franchise within a larger mainstream corporation, whether it's a black-owned business. The answer is yes, because the person in charge has the power to fire at will anybody they see fit, and if they have somebody working under them who's a racist, they can fire that person. So yes, you better believe that black-owned franchises are considered black-owned businesses, and that we should support them. And as a matter of fact, news had surfaced within the forum, within the Facebook group, that there are a couple of black females who bought a franchise, who now owns a BP franchise. BP is a gas station, it's an oil company, right? They now own a BP franchise somewhere in, I believe, Texas or wherever it is. So people are being more encouraged to engage in entrepreneurship, and I really like that. I admire that. So as soon as I find out some more information about the BP franchise, black-owned BP franchise, I will pass on the information. Right? There aren't too many black-owned grocery stores, so we should definitely work on that. Definitely work on owning grocery stores and passing on information as soon as it becomes available. I, for one, will take part in the promotion of black businesses. Very soon, you will be able to advertise here on the Frank and Upfront channel. I will let you know when I'm ready to start receiving your inquiries. But for right now, I have to set some things up. In the meantime, I have to set up my Cash App, PayPal, and all those things. But once those things are set up, you'll be good. I'll be good to go insofar as advertising your brand is concerned. And I must say that black businesses in particular will be receiving a discount. Everybody will be free to advertise, but black businesses will be receiving a discount. But more on that soon. I just thought I'd share. Alright, so That's definitely coming soon. In the meantime, however, you can turn to the Blackout Coalition Facebook group to receive information on black businesses. Now the impact on Blackout Day was more felt out in the field, in the real world, than any stock market figures could project. Even though there were reports that the Dow Jones and the Nasdaq actually took a plunge on Wednesday morning, even though that was so, it is not very accurate and reliable of a source. Why would the mainstream society make a declaration of concession to a group of people whom they consider inferior, albeit a false sense of inferiority? Why would they give us that so easily? We cannot rely on the mainstream press to give us stock market figures that reflects that we had an impact on the economy. So then, unless of course we have our own economists to who can do the research for us, and we do, and we can rely on them for more reliable feed. So find out who they are and turn to them and see what they have to say. But I do believe, however, that that the best evidence of an impact could be reflected out in the field, where there are people giving reports that the parking lot and drive-through lines in like Chick-fil-A and Wendy's and wherever, that those lines and parking lots were empty on Tuesday, completely empty, or there were one or two of them, and that blackout day is what was actually the cause of the lines being so empty and the parking lot as well. And then and then again, there was this one particular girl who works at an Amazon warehouse who went on the record as saying that blackout day worked. She was so grateful she didn't have too much work to do at her job because things were slow as a result of blackout day. Those were two examples, but I'm sure there are many more examples. So we did have an impact. Seeing as how we now know the impact that we had when we all come together and are united, the next step going forward is to consider what some of the future blackout days, or when actually some of the future blackout days will be. Now I must say that some of the days for which retailers anticipate the largest profit would be on major holidays throughout the year. That would be your Memorial Day, your 4th of July, your Labor Day, and so on and so forth. And especially the end of year holidays, the Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's Eve and so forth. Those are the days that retailers anticipate that their profitability would come out of the red and would go out of the red and into the black. So if you really want to have an economic impact and hit them where it hurt the most, future blackout days would have to coincide with major holidays, with all the major holidays. But more than that, Blackout Day for labor should take place on Juneteenth. Juneteenth should be a day where everyone just calls out of work. No one should be working on Juneteenth. No one. Call out of work, stay home, and let the people at your job of a whiter persuasion, whose workload is disproportionately smaller than yours, because they would readily call out of work and dump all their work on you, let those people pick up the slack for a change. You don't worry about what goes on there when you're not there until you get back to work. You let them worry about what goes on at work. And you sit Juneteenth out and stay home. That's the one day that no person of color in America should be working. Other blackout days to consider as far as spending is concerned. Once again, I reiterate, all the major holidays throughout the year, 4th of July, which you shouldn't even be celebrating anyway, because as the Radical Latino said recently on his program, when mainstream society was celebrating their independence, black and brown people were not independent. We were not independent nor free, we were still slaves, so therefore we should not be celebrating a day that was not meant for us to be independent. Right? Now, that is why we have Juneteenth. Juneteenth is a day that we should celebrate, a day that we should a day that we should be booking flights to fly all across the country to go see relatives and have barbecues and get-togethers. That's what Juneteenth is for. The 4th of July is a regular, ordinary day for us. If our jobs happen to be closed on that day, then we stay home and we just chill and not spend any money. It shouldn't be an ordinary, it should just simply be an ordinary day for us. We shouldn't be stimulating the economy on that day. The same thing for Memorial Day. The same thing for Labor Day. The same thing for Halloween, which we shouldn't even be celebrating Halloween either, because it is a paganistic, satanic celebration of the dead. You shouldn't even be celebrating that demonic holiday to begin with. And then there's Thanksgiving. You know the real definition of Thanksgiving, the real reason why they celebrate? They had a feast to celebrate the slaughtering of all of the Native American Indians, all of the Choctaw, the Cherokee, the Apache, all those people with whom they signed a treaty to share their land with them. They signed a treaty with the indigenous peoples of the Americas to share land with them, and then they turn around, violate the treaty, slaughtered all the Indians, and took their land and celebrated, had a huge feast to celebrate. And then they told you the story in reverse to say that they killed the Indians after Thanksgiving. No, it's before, not after. So if you are Native American or even black or Latino, you ought not be celebrating any holiday for which they celebrate your capture and your enslavement and your genocide. And Thanksgiving is one such day that celebrates your genocide. You shouldn't be celebrating Christmas, because Christmas is not even the birth of the Messiah. And for that matter, who they're telling us that the Messiah is not even the Messiah. The picture of white Jesus is Caesar Borgia, so we shouldn't even be celebrating Christmas. Once again, if the office happens to be closed on Christmas, take it as a day off and a blessing to stay home and chill, and that's just a regular ordinary day with you, for you. Don't buy any presents or any gifts. Don't even buy a turkey, because the poultry farmers are expecting to make a profit on Thanksgiving and Christmas. So when you don't buy a turkey and you instead choose to buy meat and produce from a black-owned farmer's market, those poultry farmers are going to be missing out on a profit. So you will be having an impact for you staying home and not spending a dollar, not stimulating the economy around Christmas time. Matter of fact, the entire 6 weeks from Thanksgiving to New Year's Eve should be a blackout period. The entire 6 weeks. That's when they turn the most profits. This whole entire system. So if you really want to have an impact during that time, the entire 6 weeks between Thanksgiving and New Year's Eve you should be totally blacked out. You should only be supporting small businesses and people of color in particular. If you need something, run to the store, the black-owned store, and get it, so that you won't run out of supplies when you're in the house. You won't stay in there and starve. You still need food, so you got to go to a black-owned business, right? But these fake paganistic holidays, the wretched demonic holidays that celebrate your slaughter, your ancestors' genocide, your enslavement, your humiliation, they ought not be celebrated. They look at you like you're dumb when they see you celebrating their holidays, and they know what they're celebrating. You're just trying to fit in, and they know the real reason why they're celebrating. They're laughing at you when they see you celebrating. They're looking at you like you're dumb. Because like Frederick Douglass once said in giving his speech on the 4th of July, in short, he basically said that the celebrations of mainstream culture is a thinly veiled event. I'm going to paraphrase. It's a thinly veiled event to cover up the hideous crimes that would disgrace a nation of savages. So by you celebrating, you're helping them cover up their shame and make them and appease them and make them feel more comfortable. Why would you want to do that, especially seeing as how all they will do is laugh at you for celebrating something for which they actually know the true meaning, and they're not telling you. They're not telling you what the true meaning is. But they're laughing at you in their minds though, right? Stop doing that. It's time for black people to wake up. Wake up. So Thanksgiving celebrates the slaughter of the indigenous Indians, as well as the violation of their treaty with the Pilgrim settlers. And Christmas is not the birthday of the Messiah. It is the birthday of Christ. Let me see if it's several the birthday of several deities. But more on that later, because I didn't do effective sufficient research. But there are several deities whose birthday is on Christmas. Some were Egyptian, others were Greek, and so forth. So when you celebrate the entire end of year festivities from Thanksgiving back to New Year's, you're paying homage to those deities, those demonic, paganistic gods. When you put a Christmas tree in your home, when you stay up on New Year's Eve to count down till midnight, you're paying homage to the pagan god Janus, who is the god of beginnings and endings. It has nothing to do with the birth of Jesus Christ. So you shouldn't even be celebrating in the first place. Find out what your ancestors' holidays were and celebrate them. The brown Indian tribes in the Americas, the brown Indian indigenous tribes of the Americas, the black indigenous tribes of the Americas too. Find out what your ancestors' religion and holidays were, and celebrate those days. Those who are certain that they can trace their lineage back to Africa, find out what those African holidays were, and that's what you should celebrate. In the meantime, what we do know about for sure is Juneteenth. So you could celebrate that day for starters until we figure out what the other holidays are. And then there's Jamaica and Jamaicans and West Indians in general. The first week in August is our week. August 1st is Emancipation Day. On August 1st, 1834, 1838 rather, all of the slaves throughout the West Indies, the British West Indies, were freed after a 4-year period of apprenticeship. So if you're looking for another blackout day, then no one in the West Indies or of West Indian descent should spend any money on August 1st. And then August 6th is Jamaica's independence in particular. And even though Jamaica doesn't have complete independence, and there are many people who have certain feelings about that, independence still serves the purpose of being a symbolic gesture in which one now has a sense of civic pride and national identity. So if Jamaican independence doesn't serve anything more, it definitely serves that purpose. So regardless of how you feel about Jamaica's independence, no Jamaican should be spending any money on August 6th. No West Indian should spend money on August 1st. And no Jamaican should spend money on August 6th in particular. And as a matter of fact, no Jamaican should be spending money the entire first week of August, period. We have to get to that place someday where for that entire first week of August, we only support black businesses. And then there are others of our allies who are not West Indian who would love to celebrate, support the cause. Yes, feel free to do so. We welcome all the support we could get. Feel free to do so. The entire first week of August should be Blackout Week for people of West Indian descent and Jamaicans in particular. The entire first week. And we welcome the support of our non-West Indian allies as well who wish to support us. We shouldn't spend any money whatsoever the first week of August. That whole week should be Blackout Week. That would be a real impact. From August 1st to maybe the 7th or so. So we have several days to consider. We have the first week of August, and we have all the major holidays in the United States throughout the year. And we have the 6-week end of year period from Thanksgiving to New Year's Eve. So those are other days to consider. And I hope that as I spread the word, other people will jump on board and we'll gain more support as time goes by. Right about now, we're just simply a grassroots movement. But as soon as we gain traction and more people jump on board, we'll be able to have a more profound effect than anything we could have possibly imagined. Anything we could have ever thought possible, you know? We will have a far more profound effect. But we have to continue promoting the agenda and gain traction. Now, finally, in closing, I must say this. There is a vicious cycle of scarcity. Scarcity is an artificial construct that was sold to us and we bought it. Scarcity is why we have crime and poverty, and why we're working so hard and can barely make ends meet. The psychopaths who run the world have captured all of Earth's natural resources for themselves and have left very little for the majority to fight over. It has caused division and strife, and it has caused poverty and crime. And while we're too busy down here fighting among ourselves, the powers that be have captured all the resources and are laughing at us, and are enjoying the power that divide and conquer tactic actually bought them. They know exactly what they're doing it deliberately. As soon as we recognize that, we have to end the cycle. The crime that exists within the black community doesn't exist because the perpetrators wish to be criminals. It exists because there aren't very many more options for them. So this is what they have been reduced to. And as soon as we can encourage entrepreneurship and get more black people on board with the idea of being their own bosses and starting their own businesses, the crime in the black community will be reduced. The drug dealers and hustlers and all those characters in the black community will be willing to put down the guns and the drugs and turn to legitimate enterprise, and that's what we want. We want to end the vicious cycle of scarcity, poverty, and crime. If we have an abundant mindset and we view the world as such, we would be in want for nothing. There is too much money in this world for people to be robbing people, sticking people up at knife point, grabbing their purse and chain, and for single mothers to be working 2-3 jobs and could barely make ends meet. It's too much money out there for that. The problem is that some greedy psychopathic bastard took control of the natural resources and is selling it back to us, insulting us by selling it back to us at twice the amount for half the value. Twice the amount for half the value. That's an insult when they do that. They're insulting us. Nobody who works 2-3 jobs in the United States of America, the richest country on earth, should ever have problems paying their rent. Ever. But yet, that's an everyday reality. And why? Because scarcity was sold to us as a concept. The artificial construct of scarcity was sold to us, and we bought it. There's enough resources on this earth to feed the entire global population tenfold. So why do we have people working 2-3 jobs that could barely make rent and buy the groceries and pay their bills, who are on the verge of homelessness? And why is it that there are others who have to turn to crime for want of jobs and opportunities? when they had dreams of being doctors and lawyers and all these important members of society. Many of them were killed at a young age by the police or even their very cronies. And they had so much potential that will now not be realized. They could have made remarkable contributions and they could have left their mark on this world. But now they're gone too soon. Why is that? Because they bought a lie that was told to them, and they turned to a life of crime because they believed in scarcity, when really and truly, this is truly a world of abundance. Scarcity has scarcity is the first point in a vicious cycle, that leads nowhere, that leads to death. Scarcity creates poverty, and poverty creates crime, and crime will cause the death of something, whether your physical vessel or whether your future, for you being thrown in jail and can't find work because you have a criminal record. But change your mindset and get the healing you need and get healthy. And then develop an entrepreneurial spirit. Leave the gun running and the criminality behind. And actually start legitimate businesses and be an example for the younger generation to follow within your community. The kids are watching and they emulate what they see. The kids are watching and they emulate what they see, so be the example, be the change you want to see. Be an entrepreneur. End the concept of scarcity in your community. The ancient tribes on this earth, they have abundance. They don't have war or crime or poverty or disease or famine or any of those things. And yet, we are told that they are uncivilized. But yet, we're the ones fighting among ourselves for scarce benefits and spoils. We're the ones working 2 jobs and can barely make the rent, while some other greedy bastard is overcharging you on the bills and the rent and all those other things. Overcharging you, which is driving you into poverty. Driving you into scarcity. And if you're stuck working somebody's job, they could always sabotage your promotional opportunity and keep you stagnated. And you're probably stuck in a dead-end spot and never go anywhere. Which is why you need to start your own business and become an entrepreneur, because there's no power in eating at someone's mercy. we're forced to fight among ourselves to survive in this satanic world. And ironically enough, we look at the ancient tribes like they're uncivilized and savages. What a piece of irony. Could it be that the ancestors of this earth actually had it right? They don't have war, poverty, disease, or famine. Could it be that they have it right and they have rich abundance to feed all the world over tenfold? Could it be that all the ancestors of this earth had it right and we went off the course of the laws of nature, trying to make it here in this Babylon system? We went off the course of nature and we somehow got lost along the way, and we're in the wilderness and they have it right? Could it be? You think about that for a moment. So, resigning from these people's jobs and starting your own business where you get to control your profitability and your earning potential is definitely a step in the right direction. It is a step towards taking your life and your fate in your own hands. Saying no to what you were taught, denouncing and unlearning everything you were taught, relearning everything that is actually meant to serve you, developing an abundant mindset, and effectuating the abundant mindset that you were taught. The abundant mindset you had to relearn. Effecting it, taking it into practice, and perpetuating it, and being the example of the change you want to see. Being entrepreneurial, starting your own business is definitely a step in the right direction. Especially in the black community, where even if not individually, then certainly collectively, we're the most stagnated group among all the other races on earth. So this is especially true for us. Stop working at these people's jobs. There's no power in eating at someone's mercy. Become entrepreneurial. Develop an abundance mindset. Break through the glass ceiling, and the sky will truly be the limit. Okay, now I believe I said everything I wanted to say for this podcast. Nothing else comes to mind. If I remember anything, it's gonna have to pick it up next week. All right. So next week's topic will be the racist insignia worn by the Governor General of Jamaica, and removing the Queen as Jamaica's head of state. I hope you join me then. I am Mr. Franklin. This has been Frank and Upfront.